We have rescued Ixa'Taka, the High Priest, and sent him, the Blue Rogue, from Moonstone Mountain, and we are ready to move forward on our journey to find the not blue, look at all the green around me, the green Moon Crystal from Ixa'Taka. Let us return to the King's hideout, and hopefully we will find our way to the lost city of Rixis. I am fairly certain I know where it is. This is going to be sort of another dungeon episode, if I remember correctly, and it's going to lead to a lot of crazy fun. I actually have enough spirit points now that I can start off with Lambda Burst, so I should keep that in mind as I progress forward. Get myself some decent experience while I'm still in this area. So, I really like what's coming up. Rixis is a fairly easy space. It's more interesting than Moonstone Mountain. And all of the subsequent events are really interesting. So this episode, and particularly the next episode, we're going to have a lot of cool stuff going on. And once again, I love the music. I love the colors of Ixa'Taka, even though I have previously stated some concerns with how it treats some of the portrayal of its people. But these are warm people, not quite as warm as the people from Nazar, but they're still, they're guarded, of course, because of their experience, but they are, we're slowly building up trust, and I like that idea. So he's going to tell us where to find Rixis. The great bird with its wings spread and the kneeling golden man will open the way. Those sound like discoveries that I've already found. And each one of them does point in a certain direction. So I'm feeling pretty good about... but let's not split hairs here. I got those things done so that I wouldn't have to do a lot of searching in this section. I don't exactly remember where Rixis is right off the top of my head, but it will point towards the general area. The Golden Man is very easy to find. We did a sequence break, sort of, but not really. So, everybody knows where these things are. We've discovered them and shared our wonderful discovery with the world, but now it's time to head to Rixis, and I find it very interesting that we go from one dungeon to another. So we leave this space. Moonstone Mountain was its own sort of thing, and we made our way right there. So he's pointing towards Rixis, and now we just sort of need to travel and find it, which is pretty easy. Haha. So there's Rixis, and it counts as a discovery as well, which is always really great. So this is the gate of Rixis, the former capital of Ixa'Taka. And our second dungeon, not quite as complex as what we've dealt with in, Moonstone Mountain, so I have no problem sort of foregoing that save point, particularly because I know a nice weakness of the boss. So let's look up at the statue. Will it let me? So you just sort of need to match the color of the stones with the color of the statue. Very simple. These are the stones that we picked up from here. I don't remember the colors. I'm going to assume the Golden Man's is yellow, which makes sense. And now we get to use the other one. I like little moments like this. They do have a nice feeling of exploration to them, of sort of delving into ancient spaces. And as always, we have transformation of spaces. Skies of Arcadia is very good about taking spaces and then sort of altering them in very fun ways. There is a cham in this area, so I am going to run around and find it. I know it's towards the left. So I am going to frantically spam my button here. So I hope I find it. And we might do a fade so that I do have not a lot of wasted time here. So actually, it's early yet, but hey, I found the cham. Isn't that super great? So we will feed that to Cupel in just a second. If you're hearing mic noises, I'm just adjusting my setup for a second. So let us, as always, deal with a crazy controller and then feed a delicious cham to Cupel and see if he is transformed. We are feeding him a lot of things. Cupel Sword, still. There is still one more cham for us to get. And I actually do know the general location of that one. I do remember, in some cases, the locations. And here's another case of skies giving us a lot of height to go up into. Rixis is essentially a city in the clouds, which is really nice. It gives us a sort of foggy atmosphere, very mystical atmosphere, different than what we had in the Temple of Pyren. In the Temple of Pyren, we were descending, and that was perilous because of all the warmth and the lava and all this, and this is so high, and it's called, they're saying here, the City of Mist, and it's very interesting as a nice sort of juxtaposition compared to what we had in Nazra. Now we have something where we're ascending compared to descending. Unfortunately, the tales of Rixis being a city of gold, not quite true. And then, it's since been destroyed. It's sort of a more somber place, not just because of the fog or everything, but also because of all of the damage that we can visibly see here. The Temple of Pyren is sort of untouched, right? And here we have sort of reminders of the history that was. And sort of a strange figure standing in the mist. I like how well Skies handles atmosphere in spaces like this, and once again, just wonderful facial animations given the constraints of the Dreamcast at the time. This is a game right at the turn of the century, and the 6th console generation was still kind of finding its legs, but I think Skies does a good job of dealing with those limitations and entering into a more refined sort of understanding of the 3D space. Maybe not so much as other games, but still characters are expressive, the spaces have their own sense of tone and feel. That's an interesting concept to talk about. I think that Rixis has a sort of tangibility to it that maybe the Temple of Pyren didn't. The navigation of the space, if only because of the mist, right? It feels like we're sort of pushing through something or swimming a little bit, and that isn't necessarily reflected through a change in mechanics. And remember, when I say mechanics, I only mean modes of interaction. So in this case, I mean walking. Walking is a mechanic, and so that's not changed in our locomotion, but it's something achieved entirely sort of through the design of the space and everything else that accompanies it. So there is a real sense of touch and texture to this space that I think the Temple of Pyren didn't quite have. And even Ascension here is a little different because we have to sort of loop back and forth, which I really like. Skies, sometimes it's climbing ladders or going down slides. Ixa'Taka has slides that you go down, but in this case it's stairs, but you sort of loop back and forth, which is really nice. We'll attack normally. Oh, this is interesting. Because we're in a different space, the enemies are not quite what I expected, and I probably should have healed everybody, considering where we were at the end of the last battle. So Drachma can't really be using blue magic right now, so we'll slot him for yellow. And I forget how effective yellow is against purple. Red has a high amount of possible damage that it can do to many different elemental types. Which is interesting because it actually has the most out of, I think, of any element. But, you know, it does well against blue, it does fairly well against green, to the best of my understanding. And actually, in this case, Fina's going to do well because green does okay against purple a little bit, I believe. And this right here, very dramatic attack. Unfortunately, it might knock Ica unconscious, because it hits fairly hard. So she will not reap the benefits of the battle this time. And unfortunately, if he does another Quake, that's not good. So I am going to not waste an item, but we do have Sacrum Crystals, which will heal everybody. So that's really good. I feel like I'm overly narrating some of the battles that we are doing, but as we enter into new spaces, we need to sort of readjust our understanding of tactics. I like the design of some of these enemies too. And actually, Fina has learned Sacrum, but I want to save some of her magic for points where we really need it. Right now, we don't necessarily need it as much. We're hitting for a decent amount of damage. Drachma being confused might be a little bit of a problem. And actually, you know what? I'm going to use this chance to show off Skull Shield. It's not an attack that you use very often, so it defends and automatically counterattacks. My controller's going crazy there for a second. So I'll show this off, and so if we're attacked, we will counterattack. I think the mist here is making the frame rate chug a little bit, but it's okay. You don't use Skull Shield very often, unfortunately. That's a strong hit. Oh, wow. I actually negated the damage of the confusion, so that was actually a smart play using that skill there. I didn't realize that it could do that. And it doesn't go into a counterattack against your fellow party member, so that's nice. He's going to do a little bit of regeneration, but we'll be able to finish him off fairly easy now. And actually, no, not Cutlass Fury. Well, is Drachma still confused? Let's operate under the assumption that he is. Yeah. And let's just try and finish off this enemy. Which we should be able to with an attack from Cupel right here. So definitely a difficult space, or at least an intimidating space when it comes to the enemies we are facing. But it's fitting as we make our way to get the Moon Crystal. And it is a space with a nice degree of tangibility. So here, I will actually have Fina use Sacrum. And we can adjust that with any remaining Sacrum Crystals that we have, which is 1. So we'll actually give that to Ica, which is fine. And that should be good. And we'll move through the space. Moving upwards through these ruins, it's really very wistful. A term I used sort of inappropriately in the last section when I said that I was wistful for sort of an age where relations with native cultures on the part of my historical ancestors would have been better. I think what I really meant was that I'm wistful for a history that never existed. In Skies, we are wistful for a history that did exist, and we rediscover it. But as we learn more about it, we maybe reconsider how sort of vaguely nostalgic we might be about it. So fire against fire is fair enough. I try to slot Vise for fire for a majority of the game. And actually, on this next round, I might slot Fina for silver magic now and work her towards learning the 100% assured resurrection spell of Ryslem. There's Ryzan and Ryslem. Ryzan has a 50% chance to bring your character back to 50% health, which is not great considering that you have to waste MP to do it. So we want to get her to silver. Cupel changing colors is really amusing to me, but Cupel in his natural silver form is what we like. And we'll sort of see how silver stacks up against red, because I can't remember, unless Ica fires off first, in which case she might just kill all the enemies. That's strong language to use. Kill, defeat. I mean, that's what the abstraction is. We're fighting monsters and killing them, but I remember playing with my friend. He had a Nintendo growing up. I did not, so we would always play at his house. And I do remember one time, I admit that I was into the fad that was Ninja Turtles. How could you not be? Sort of 80s and early 90s. They were top, right? And I remember, now I'm just talking about random stuff. My friend and I got into a boss battle, and I think it's at the end of the first level of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the first game for NES, and I was so excited. I told my father, hey, we killed Bebop and Rocksteady, and my father, I remember him saying, you defeated them. Which, I don't know, is a memory that sticks out in my mind, and something that I sort of remember when I play games. And certainly I've played plenty of games that have had their share of killing, as we all have. So I think I need to get on the platform. I wanted to see if I could move past that space, so I can't. So we'll head back and get on that platform. My only complaint right now with the way that I've been playing Skies is the way that the damn controller has been functioning. It has not been cooperating at all. So navigating menus has actually been a very stressful experience. You know? But thinking about that notion of kill versus defeat, I mean, obviously that was his way of, you know, talking to a child at the time, and I have no problem with that, but I always think now about creatures in game spaces like this. I think that was the first time I'd ever had a notion of non-playable characters in games, and mind you, I was very young, as sort of entities unto themselves. Which, once you embrace that concept, is a very, very powerful concept, because it's not just characters and actors that have sort of agency and implicit life. It is also things like these creatures we're encountering. And you usually don't think about everything in those terms, but I remember being young and that sort of challenging my concept of what virtual spaces meant a little bit. And it's funny that that's probably going to be one of the memories of my father that sticks with me the most. Oh my god, a moonberry. Fuck yes. We are saving those up now so Vyse can get his ultimate attack. I don't know, there must be moonberries in the dungeon. If I find another, I think it takes 3. And here, the disc moves us along the space, which is nice. And we have 2 options. And we always want to explore everything in its entirety, so we move down here, which means that there's gonna be a chest. Especially in sections of games where you are compelled to move upwards, if you take detours down, it tends to be the space where level designers put all the hidden goodies. Or not all of them, but quite a few of them. Level design, dungeon design in games has never been anything that's really mind-blowing. After you've played a couple of games, you sort of understand what's going on to an extent. And actually, we'll use Rain of Swords here because it will hit harder than Lambda Burst. And it's not a skill we use a lot, so we'll show it off. because it ends up being sort of redundant given that we have Lambda Burst, which is cheaper. And actually, that didn't do quite as much damage as I thought it would. Probably because Vise is red, and I think these Quake enemies are red affinity as well. That's okay, our party's still in good shape. I wish that maybe they had gone thicker on the fog, but I don't know how that would tax the Dreamcast at the time. This is still a time of experimentation with the Dreamcast, certainly, and I haven't been using Spirit Charge as much as I should. But if we're talking about that idea of tangibility of space, I think maybe even fogging it up a little bit more would have been interesting. And it would have made exploration of the space feel a little bit more, interesting. Interesting being a sort of vague term, but I mostly am using it as a stand-in for, I suppose, compelling? And that sounds like tautology, but I mean that the navigation through the space would be more compelling given our lack of foreknowledge of where we were going. It might make navigation itself a little difficult, but think of a game, and whenever we talk about fog, everybody talks about Silent Hill, so let's do it anyway. Think of a game like Silent Hill where the fog was absolutely essential to the experience. I think games can take note of something like that, and we can have, dungeons that do that. Next generation, we can do all kinds of crazy stuff with spaces. After The Order, we know what next-gen graphics can look like. Even Dragon Age Inquisition to an extent, although there was a certain plastic feel to some of the spaces. I think the next gen of consoles is in a fairly good place of graphic fidelity. And I don't mean graphics that emulate reality. I mean graphics that give spaces their own sense of identity. And that's not necessarily something that high quality graphics, you have to rely on to do that too. If you have the right sense of color and texture in, a low-bit game, you can get that. Shovel Knight accomplishes it. Boot Hill Heroes accomplishes it, I think, or at least I hope it does. So you have plenty of games that can accomplish a sort of density and sort of pseudo-reality to their space just through sort of how they construct the spaces, and then also how they not necessarily color, right, but how they frame those spaces in certain ways. Texture, again, being a very important concept. Why am I having her use items? I need her to use magic. I need her to use magic on Fina. And when we get closer to the boss, we will use magic on everybody. Where am I going? My controller is totally going bonkers. I think we're moving through this space? Oh boy, oh boy. The price of freedom is steep. No, here we're going this way, I think, right? Yeah. When in doubt, go up. A tenet of level design I have espoused many times in different videos. And it's particularly clear in this space. Particularly. I said that very strangely. What are the affinities of these? They're all red, so I don't want to do that. What's the natural opposite of red? It's not blue. Red actually does extra damage against blue. Purple might be good. Let's test that out and see how everything goes. Defend and Spirit Charge, and then we will actually try using Rain of Swords just to experiment with some of the crystal affinities. I should know these off the top of my head. But some of them are not as obvious as you would think. So yeah, given the strength Ica just did on a defensive attack, and Vyse is doing on a defensive attack, I want to say that he's going to do a decent amount of damage with Rain of Swords. And this is a good chance for me to talk about, in my mind, what the difference is between mechanics and systems just for a minute. So mechanics, as I said, are modes of interactions with the space. Systems are just, and I'm sort of stealing the shorthand from Stephen Byrne on this point. Byrne, I said that funny, Stephen Byrne. Structures. So they're the underlying structures that are in place that make the sort of rule set of the space. So in this case, the elemental, rock, paper, scissors, as I keep saying, that's a system, right? That's sort of an underlying linchpin of the space that we then can exploit and use. Excuse me, my stomach just growled there for a second. But we can use our understanding of that underlying system to alter or to enhance our modes of interaction with the space. In this case, the mode of interaction being combat. So let's see how this does. Yeah, the hit's okay. The other enemy must be defending. Cupel Sword. I'm hoping that the next Cham gives us a nice upgrade to Cupel, but with our luck, it probably won't be. But then again, we've gotten all the Chams so far. We got an Aberric Cham off screen, which was the reason why I had got, at least I'm fairly certain I got it off screen. My mind is a jumble. It's one of the reasons I kept a hold on to all of the fish that I've found. You trade the fish and you get an Aberric Cham, which is great. Sacrum Box, that's fantastic. So let's keep on moving, I suppose. The nice thing about this is, I know the next Cham is just wherever I encounter the next Zivulin Bane. Ziv Banes are some of my favorite enemies in the game. We talked about that when we were in the Temple of Pyren. And here, we can look around and see a lot of interesting space to sort of traverse and understand. And it might seem intimidating at first, but I don't find it that bad. But I do want to always check high areas. So I'm sort of interested in where this leads, but it may very well just be some sort of shortcut. But always double back and check on where spaces are taking you. So this may very well just be a way to get close to the entrance of the dungeon, and I believe that is the case. We'll know when we see the map. Yeah, so that's just a way to get to the end of the dungeon. So wasting a little bit of time moving about the space there, but in terms of dungeon gimmicks, moving platforms are not the worst thing you can do. May be a little tired and cliche at this point, but in a 3D space, it's much more interesting because you have to navigate notions of height here in ways that I don't think you really have to in other games. So we're gonna get here and try and find our way and move our way around the space such that we can go into those other spaces on the side and sort of find items and goodies. So I think we want to get off on the left side here. If it moves, yes it does, and then we can move through this space. Where is everything? I knew that was going to happen. I sigh at random battles, but I still find that they are important. They are useful. Rixis will be its own thing, and then the accompanying chaos after Rixis will be its own thing. But here, we actually have a surprise attack, which means if we just wait the next turn, so we could just focus all we wanted to. And they won't attack us. So the next turn we can use Lambda... Oh, what the heck? Assess damage. Interesting. Will the smaller enemies attack us? Usually we can go straight into our next round if we are careful, or it's happened certain times, but they might have nice high sort of quickness stats or whatever it's called. So yeah, they can attack here, but I'm not too worried. Counterattack though. Go Cupel. Nice hit. That's gorgeous. Although Fina, she doubled over, so I'm like, what's going on there? Not the worst scenario. And the annoying thing is that there are plenty of enemies that can call for reinforcements, so your battles can really be artificially extended in ways that are just sort of annoying. There are things in this game that annoy me. Counterattack, that might take him out. Very nice. I say him. It's a thing. We just sort of attribute masculinity to things unknowingly sometimes, unthinkingly, because that's just sort of how society functions. Not that I'm here interested in having a deep talk about the social structures of the real world. But I'm sort of hyper aware of my language when it falters on those levels because... oh, another Moonberry. So let us see... Can Vise upgrade? No, he needs 3. Okay, that's fine. What's his title? Vise the Respected still. I can deal with that. Let's stay on the lower level for a minute and try and find some chests. This is good. I'm worried that a Ziv Bane's in here, so I'm gonna heal. And we'll actually use Fina for this. I say Ziv Bane like I'm all cool and casual. If they are in here, we'll do okay. So there's a fight, so my gut says Ziv Bane. In a space like this, there aren't many enemies that are guarding chests, which means that a Cham is nearby, which is fantastic. Tell me I am correct. Yep. Cool. What is his affinity? Red. Alright. I can deal with that. Let's just hit him strong and hit him fast. And Spirit Charge, which is fantastic. And in this case, I will run about the space desperately mashing my button to get the Cham. I know it's nearby. Or it's relatively nearby. And we'll show off some of the special attacks. It extends the sessions a little bit, but I still like them. That hits fairly nice, so I'm comfortable with that. The damage he might be able to do will be dangerous, so we'll be careful. But if we can build up to a round with Cutlass Fury, and then... And look at that, it counters by throwing a knife. Ziv Banes are really interesting, so Burst, some heavy damage here. Very heavy against Ica, which is sort of a bummer. But we can heal, we'll attack normally with Vise. We'll actually use the Sacri box here just to get to where we want to be. And it's tempting to use Lunar Glyph. But we won't. So actually, this makes me reassess my entire battle plan. I want to attack there. I will have Fina heal using Sacres. The last one, I believe, is Sacralem. And we'll change Drachma's affinity here to purple because I think that's the correct deal. Oh no, she can't use magic. So, Sacrum Crystal it is, and then Tackle. See, you think you're going through the battle space and you're all ready, but then you lose it a bit. Ooh, she is right on death's door.
Let's try this.
Sacrum Crystal will heal everybody though, which is good, and so I'm comfortable with that. And Tackle should be nice. Our normal attacks are doing okay. Counterattacks are hitting fairly strong, but Tackle should do very well here. Yep. So I feel good about that. And we can follow it up with another Tackle, and actually what we can do is use a Glyph of Might on Drachma to really get us through this fight. Ziv Banes aren't necessarily super difficult, but they are intimidating. they are sort of extended battles compared to other enemies in the space. So that will sort of act as increm. And so the tackle should be, I'm going to guess, in the 1,000 range. But that's me being optimistic, I think. Very nice. I like that a lot. So, I think... What is he guarding here? Mask of Power? Sylph Seed? Well, what's in the chest? Golden Mask. I know it's some sort of mask. We need to sell these things. At the end of this balcony is the Cham. I think if we go all the way up... So I need the Cham. I need it, guys. There we go. And so let's give it again to our favorite little monster. Assuming that Cupel is a fan of Lady Gaga. Cham. And let's see if we get a transformation. Cupel Sword. That's fine. That's fine. I can live with that. And so we need to get on a platform here, I think. So let's wait for that to show up. Moving on to, like, moving your camera and everything can trigger enemy encounters, which can be annoying. So this is the one that we got on. So it's the only one we can get on, unless we... No, we can move upwards on this platform. So that's what we want to do. Hey. Let me get off. What are you doing? Game. No, I want to go that way. So we'll move through this space fairly easily, I think. There we go. And then were there stairs up here? So we want to go up. But is this space one we can't move through? Yeah, so we need to go down. By process of elimination, using my amazing Sherlock Holmes-like skills, I have determined that down is the direction we want to go instead of up. Because I'm a genius. Let's see if we can run. Retreat. Not bad. Like I've said before, I don't like to run from too many battles because it does affect your pirate rank. You can eventually get a rank of Vise the Cowardly, which is not great. Not great at all. Is there stuff on this side? Chest, yes. Very cool. Gold! And we gotta go to this side. Enemy encounter on the way? I don't know. Cool. Not bad. No! Crazy controller! You're gonna mess with me. And then I think we end up going up to this next section. Or no, on the next section we will go up, but we will move about and see and grab as much treasure as we can. Moonberry 3! If it takes 3 moonberries to get the skill, we're good. Oh my gosh, it's gonna take 4 moonberries. That's amazing. And then after this, I actually want to level up most of Fina's abilities. Although I will probably, if I get a spare moonberry, save it for another party member that we will encounter later on. That's just me thinking ahead. If we get one from a random battle, that would be amazing, so we might fight this battle. We're only about 30 minutes in. I know that these segments are long. I know that only a certain amount of you stay with me, but I certainly appreciate it. Let's get him back to red, by the way, while we can. We use Lambda Burst, and we'll just go out and attack. My whole deal is just that playing through this game, it's going to be a long playlist, and if somehow you manage to make it through to the end with me, God bless you. or whatever deity or whatever thing you believe, or even if you don't believe in something, just thank you. I want to share this game with people because I think this game shows that elegance can be achieved without necessarily reinventing the wheel, right? You can take something that exists and still sort of polish it to a nice sheen. The light coat, I'm sort of tempted to give to Ica, actually, because we haven't given her an upgrade in a while, but I think we can only give it to Fina, which is fine. That's a nice little bit of upgrade there. So we will definitely use that, and we'll move upwards, and we'll get out of the crazy sky maze. I'm getting caught on spaces. Well, this one will go across so we can grab that chest. I'm obsessed with treasure, like any good pirate should be. Stop running around, controller. Stop messing with me. And we will grab this. But we will first fight monsters dramatically. Yeah, I really do. Like, this space I enjoy so much better than Moonstone Mountain. Like I've said before, I like what Moonstone Mountain represents as a sort of social issue that the game is vaguely commenting upon, but I like Rixis more as an actual physical space that we are traversing. If only also because Rixis avoids a lot of the extra bullshit that Moonstone Mountain had with a lot of things. I could turn to stone! Well, that certainly changes things a bit. Remember that stone status, by the way. It's going to be useful later on. Although that's always sort of semi-reliant on luck. But I feel pretty good about what I want to do later on when we get further in this dungeon. Hey, Cupel. Hey, Fina. Fina's definitely my favorite character in the game. Her honesty just... It sounds funny, but her honesty, like, straight up, like, humbles me. It's really wonderful. Ruin Arm, that has to be for Drachma. And an upgrade from the De Loco Drill. That's so strange that they give us access to these things so sort of immediately one after the other, particularly given the events that are to come. So I would hope that they would have given, you know, a weapon to Vise. I mean, they're certainly giving the Chams to Fina. No, stupid thing. You want it to pause at the space, but it only pauses if you're kind of in a running animation. Will we make it to the other before a random encounter? Yes. And we can finally move forward to bigger and greater things. And there is someone before us. Is it a ghost? I don't know. But they are running. Something is not what it seems in the city of Rixis. And now is this like a thing where we have to follow him through different passageways? I think it might be. That's sort of a fun thing, even though I don't think we can... Yeah, we can sort of try... We want to cut him off. Right, I think is the general idea of what's going on here. So if I circle, I think I circle around and get him. I think we're playing a little game of tag. Can I get him here? Oh, dear gosh. Let's chase him normally for a minute. We'll catch up to him. I think we can force him into a dead end. So if he goes forward here, I think he eventually gets caught in a dead end. Bringing to my mind right now, just because of the nature of what's going on, the Mikolash fight from... yeah, so I want to manipulate the way he moves. So if I can get him from this side, he will not run straight, he will run forward from the direction I approach him. There we go. Not a puzzle, but still an interesting interaction, and thank the moons that we are not dealing with any random encounters during it. The game has at least the sense to not have us deal with that. But the ghost was kind enough to... oh, goddamn platform. Was kind enough to activate the platform that we can reach him with. Or it with. Look at me with my pronouns. So strange. And yes, I am sort of hypersensitive about those things. Just for the hell of it, let's use... oh, Sylph Seed is quick, so we'll give that to Ica, because she tends to be a character that actually can dodge a lot of enemies, which I like. So, like, compare her quick stat to Vi's. It's not much of a difference, but it's 110. Fina's quick skill is not high at all, because it's sort of fitting her nature of not necessarily super squishy mage, but you know, each character has some stat affinities as well that are interesting. So we have the Golden Mask. The Rune of Ill Omen was from Pyren. So we're going to want to sell those things. But let's follow our little buddy here upwards and onwards and make our way through Rixis. It's a nice space. It's not quite as long of a space. And this is cool because we're really ascending to the top of a really neat area. And I'm surprised they don't give us a save point here. They do. Should I take the save point? Yes, and we're not going to do the wipe. So you can just sort of see how it handles saves. Moonstone Mountain entrance, Ixa'Taka entrance, we will overwrite that. And you can see a visual representation of what a VMU looks like. It has buttons and everything. This boss is interesting. It sort of reaches that point where it's just an enemy from out of nowhere that I've talked about before. But also, like, see, this is just things just here. But it has a very specific weakness that I can exploit, and which makes Fina very, very useful. And it is sort of what I alluded to before. You can stone this enemy. You can stone this boss. And it's great. But here's the thing where Skies is just like, okay, I like the design of the enemy for the space that we are in, but at the same time it's like, this is just a boss for boss's sake. Lunar Glyph is nice because even if it doesn't quite work, look at that strange contraption on his arm. Even if it doesn't work right away, we have multiple chances to use it because Lunar Glyph cost 3 spirit, which is great. But hopefully it will stone the enemy on the first round, at which point we can just go nuts and attack as much as we want. So what's it using here? Feather Slash. That hits pretty hard, all things considered. So hopefully Lunar Glyph will work. Let's cross our fingers. And we will sort of end this session right after the boss fight, because there's going to be a ton of shit that's going to go down. Did it hit? Yes. Wonderful. It's so crazy to have bosses that are so susceptible to these sorts of things. And then we can use another Sacrum Crystal. No, actually we can... Glyph of Might, Drachma, Sacrum Crystal, and then Tackle. That's an effective round.
Let's try this.
And the enemy can't counterattack, so we can just sort of build up and do all sorts of stuff. It's really fantastic.
Let's try
this. It's crazy. When I finally realized that you could do that on like my 3rd playthrough or something like that, it just made this boss not ridiculous, but it's like What's it going to do to me? Not a lot right now, so we're just chipping it down, which is fantastic. And we're just going to build up again to more high damage, which means we can give a Glyph of Might to Vise. We can focus here, we can Spirit Charge, and then the next turn we can just attack again. It's really like, I almost feel bad about how effective I am in this battle right now. Even though I'm probably not using my elements the way that I should. I don't care, I like leveling up the magics that I want for later on. And so that's going to go away. Next round we can use Lunar Glyph. How much of this? We can get away with all of it. This is fantastic. We can Lunar Glyph, we can tackle. This is a powerful round, although again, what's up with me and my obsession with pronouns right now? It will possibly use Feather Slash again, and if it hits Fina, that could be an issue. Oof, that hit a little harder than I would like. We're actually not stoning it right away. Nice bit of damage, though. So we'll get through this boss fight pretty quickly. Nice hit from Tackle. Drachma is just a complete beast on the battlefield. So tough, so powerful, and that should stone it again. Oh, it didn't! Interesting. So this round, we want to use up our last Sacrum Crystal, and we want to try Lunar Glyph again. Oh, actually, so we can do this. Math, right? Lunar Glyph, Sacrum Crystal, and then we can also use Cutlass Fury at the same time, and then we'll Spirit Charge. Very good, very good. And hopefully we'll be okay. The music is sort of swelling triumphantly, and we're in a really nice spot. Ring of Sleep on Vise. It missed. Fantastic. Cutlass Fury is going to hit for about 800. Hopefully Lunar Glyph will stone it again. Yes. The day is all but won. And we can attack normal. And we can just have everybody sort of attack. Tackle. Just sort of everybody contributing right now. Unfortunately, Cupel will not be the one to finish this battle. I think it will definitely be Drachma. Might even finish it off in this turn. Yep. Got it. And so the monster is slain, and I'm actually going to cut off right here as we go into the next segment, so you can see some of the EXP that we got. We'll see if it dropped in Moonberry, that'd be fantastic. Level ups. Drop anything? Sylph Seed. That's okay. So we end on a successful battle against a random bird, and the next section is going to be full of a lot of stuff, and we might even need to split that section into two. So thank you very much for watching. It's about 48 minutes, 50 minutes, decent episode getting us through Rixis. I love you all very, very much. Thank you for watching. I will see you around. Bye.